Hello everyone, it's Tamryn here with my magician's wand. How fun. And today I am busting some myths around sales and marketing, and the belief that I have seen that you have to be born, you have to arrive out of the womb a skilled marketer in order to be successful in the digital business space, in the online course space, to be able to build this passive, semi-passive and recurring income streams in your life. So what I'm going to share with you today is I'm going to spill the tea. I'm going to do some genuine snooping on some of my previous work and invoicing before I was prepared to learn the sales and marketing skills, because spoiler alert, there was a long time in my life where I believed that I couldn't be a good marketer and do sales, and for that reason always worked as a contractor or a subcontractor as a hired gun. And I really convinced myself, I really believed that that gave me more freedom. I could say yes to jobs, no to jobs. So I'm going to show you some of my invoices and how much money I actually lost, the opportunity cost of not learning that skill. And then off of the back of that, you're going to see how I had already quite a lot of time freedom. I always have, my whole life, looked for time freedom type of work, but how actually even with that kind of time freedom, I made the move towards creating digital products. And then lastly, I'm going to give you a little lesson, a little teaching on what on earth digital marketing looks like for course-based businesses. So if we're going to hop in, I'm going to share my screen. And as I say, if you are currently holding the belief that you can't sort of monetize a side hustle, or you can't start a digital business, or you can't sell a course-based business because there's so much marketing involved, you are 100% correct. The beauty of a course-based business is that you make it once and you sell it over and over and over again, but then your primary focus, the tasks that you do actually make, that you have to do, is you have to market yourself. You have to build marketing campaigns, quite Jedi level marketing campaigns. But it's all learnable. I only started this journey in 2016. And by 2017, I had built thousands of people up into an audience. By 2018, I had sold my first product. By 2019, I had a very successful product. And now, the rest is history. Here I am telling you about marketing. But it wasn't always that way. As I say, I had a good old walk down memory lane. This is my teaching I'm going to show you in a second. And I opened up some old invoices that I used to send in my consulting days. And you'll see here that I used to charge a day rate, which 10 years ago, you can see this is 2013, that day rate was for me to show up without having to do any marketing, any sales, any coordination, and deliver a program, meaning I was the hired gun, i.e. I was the product. I had to get in an airplane, fly somewhere and deliver training, and then I had a handful of clients and I'd send a client invoice at the end of the month. So even if getting paid $6,000 a day to deliver training, which I didn't even design, might have been considered good, and that was 6 days in a month, that could, for some people, that's okay, that's actually quite cool. At the time I was, not even 30 years old, but I still had to show up and deliver the training. In fact, there was no not arriving. Obviously, as a professional, you've got to do it. In fact, I even had some times where I had some devastating news the day before, and the last thing I wanted to do was show up. You still had to show up. But if you look at what a company like this, so this is a subcontracting, a company like this was actually charging the client. Yes, they're paying me $6,000 a day, but that program over 2 days, of which I was getting $12,000, was like a $40,000 program. Now, obviously, this is another point I want to make, speaking about money. Oh, Tamryn, why are you showing me your invoices? We don't talk about money in the world. How on earth are we ever going to get out of that belief if we don't start talking about money? I actually want to come back on screen here and really just labor this point. The reason my main program is called Moolah Club and why I talk about passive income and recurring income is because if you don't realize that the way that you are earning money right now might be trading away your time, as in your precious life, as in your precious life force in exchange for money, when Today, there are ways that you can create products that don't involve you selling your time. You're never going to have that epiphany unless we can get comfortable talking about money. Yes, I used to sell time. That is the invoice of what the time looks like. So that's just another point, is that I'm going to be the person who's prepared to say, let's talk about money, how we make it, how we invest it, how we build assets to generate it. And if that means I'm going to show you old invoices, that's what I'm going to do, because I really want you to realize that, yes, you can make money selling time, but what could you be doing with that time? What do you want to be doing with your time? That is a total side segue. The real point I want to make with this video is that I was leaving gigantic cash on the table. Imagine if I had been prepared to handle the marketing sales for the training that I was running. Then this invoice would have been 40K plus 40K plus 40K. That was the opportunity cost of me not being prepared to learn marketing and sales or do marketing and sales. In the old-fashioned sense, this kind of business was about phoning up people and making appointments and having sales appointments. And for me, I was like, hell no, I'm not doing that. And another example, a more recent example, when I was doing a lot of facilitation, also with a day rate, you show up for one day, you invoice 20 grand, you invoice your expenses for your flights and your accommodation, and that's it. You leave. In this kind of industry, working 10 days a month is considered kind of normal. And I chose that business model for time freedom, because I've always been a freedom seeker. And I'm sure you've always had that niggle inside of you. But even then, I can tell you now that my client, who was the person who made the deal, was getting paid a lot more than they were paying me. So I was leaving money on the table. And that's why I want to encourage you that anybody can learn online marketing skills. So this is a training that I've run many times, but I'm just going to take you through a section of it just to explain to you, what do I mean by online marketing skills? This is a bigger training where I was building a case of how anybody can use digital marketing to automate their business. But I just want to show you this portion where I'm talking about what on earth does the process look like? What is it that you actually have to learn in order to be able to make and sell an online course? And basically there's 3 phases. There's marketing, which I've got in the pink there. And what that means is audience building, attracting the right people into your world whose problem you can solve with your solution. That's what marketing is. And you put your message out there. And these days we don't have to go around phoning 1,000 people so that you get 10 appointments so that you make 1 sale, like in the olden days for those invoices I showed you where I wasn't prepared to do it. These days we do it using automation and technology and software and advertising and video that people can watch over and over again. So right now you are watching a piece of marketing content. I'm connecting with you. You're deciding if you like me. You're deciding if you understand my teaching. You're deciding if my values and my message align with you. This is a piece of marketing content in this section of marketing. And then the next thing that happens, if somebody does feel attracted to you and they do feel like they're aligned to your message and they do understand that your solution can really solve the problem that they're facing, and in our case it's time poverty, it's selling time, it's not being able to live your one wild and precious life, then you move into the sales phase where you make an offer and somebody buys your product, and then of course you deliver your product. And in an online course space, the sales portion takes place usually in an event. Maybe it's a challenge or a launch or a webinar where you make an offer and then they go into your container that you've created and you implement the pieces that your student needs in order to be successful and achieve the transformation that you've promised. So that's what the whole journey looks like. And in our case, how do we attract clients? That's what that says. Let me see if I can move my face. How do we attract clients? Let's try this again. Hello, little browser. Where are you? There you are. In our case, how do you attract clients? We offer them something in exchange for their email address and we show them advertising. That is how it works in the online digital space, and I'll show you lots of examples of that in a second. Then how do you close clients? As I mentioned, is usually some kind of event where you invite people to come and have a look at your offer, and then you give them a link to join, and then of course you deliver your program. So those are the 3 phases. Now what I want to emphasize is that the amount of people that you have to reach in the marketing phase is larger than the portion of people who will buy your product and who will ultimately become successful in your program. And if you notice that shape, it's in the shape of a funnel. And that is literally what is meant when you hear the term funnel marketing. It's as old as the hills. It is not brand new. It is not because of technology and software. It is literally the process of a numbers game of being the amount of people that you interact with, who stay in your world, who become your customer over time. And because that number gets smaller, just by sheer statistics, very, very reliable statistics you can expect for the number of people who come into your world to become your client is quite predictable. And that's actually very learnable. That's the whole point. And yes, we use software these days to achieve that. So, one of the points I was making is that 100% of your sales and marketing can be done online, and that has become known as funnel marketing. That's what that means. And that's what I mean when I say Jedi level marketing. And as I say, this was a webinar where I was saying that 70% of every business can be automated, or even 100% of your business if you're prepared to shift your business model. And that, what I mean by that is if you're an estate agent or you're a personal trainer, right now, yes, you can do 70% of your portion of your business, your sales and marketing, using funnels and still deliver your product or your service, selling your time. Or you can find a variation of your business. You can start selling courses or templates so that your product isn't your time anymore. That is what I mean there. And I want to show you some examples. So right now, if you're selling a physical product or a knowledge product or a service product, you can pivot to be able to add course-based businesses. And here's some examples of people that I've worked with who've automated their funnels, even in the most unlikely niche. And so this here is an example of an entry point of a funnel for somebody who is a writer. So you can see she's offering a freebie saying, do you want me to write your emails for free? But what she's actually saying is that you can get her templates, and what you do is you fill out that form there, and then you get some free templates, and in exchange she gets your email address, and she gets to begin to build a relationship with you via email and in her social media channels. And if you get into her online community or her free group where you get to know her and like her and trust her and start to see how you can work with her in a paid way. So that's about building relationships and trust in funnel marketing. And then as we move into that orange phase, so we've been in the pink phase so far, as we move into the orange phase, you can make an offer via email or an ad or in your Facebook group that somebody can take you up on. And if they take you up on it, then they become your client. And in this case, it is a DIY course. That means it's a course that she's selling that you can buy that doesn't have a live delivery component. That means somebody buys it and they consume it without you having to show up and deliver the product. So that is the point I was making where I said 70 to 100% of your business can become automated if you start creating these assets. So in this case, this course that she's selling is a literal asset. You know, in the olden days, the only way to get an asset was to buy one. You know, if you wanted an asset, you had to, you either had to take some kind of mortgage out to buy a property, or you had to be able to buy stocks and shares, and that was an asset that you held, and it gave you money every month in terms of rent or dividends. But what I am talking about now in this niche is to be able to build an asset. So instead of buying an asset, you can now build one. You can use your time and your money and your energy as levers, ingredients, to be able to build an asset that can generate money for you without you having to sell your time, just like in that example that I was just showing you. So that is why I say build an information product asset, because literally once you have a program like that and you do have an automated funnel, so people can come through the steps piece by piece, like in this example, then it is an asset that is literally working for you over and over and over again. And then lastly, the delivery phase, so that last phase, the blue phase, where you log in and you work through the content that is pre-recorded. So that is what a course-based business looks like in terms of the funnel. If somebody was asking me, well, what on earth does that even look like? And you might be thinking, okay, how on earth would I do that? Like, I'm a gynecologist, or I'm a midwife, or I'm someone who really, really, really sells hands-on stuff. I see I've first got here my example of my own Airbnb funnel from way back then. So what that looked like was an ad that somebody signed up for. They went to a landing page. This is sometimes called a squeeze page, where they signed up for a free webinar where there was some teaching that happened, and they went into a Facebook community, and then on the teaching, you have to do actual teaching, obviously, and then at the end, open enrollment to join my Airbnb program. And then they worked through all of my content after joining via the sales page. So that is an example of a previous funnel of mine. And then, of course, they're in the portal and they watch the content. Here's an example of a midwife that I worked with years ago. We worked together in 2020, where she wanted to help women in the birthing space during Corona. So this is an ad that she had. And again, she ran a webinar. She had a community where she nurtured people. She ran a live webinar. She made an offer. She had a sales page. And then she had a course that women who were pregnant could work through. So something like as crazy as what you think you really have to be in person is an example. Here's a solar example where you can collect email addresses and build a relationship. Or in the example of this webinar, when I first ran it, the way that people came to the webinar was answering an ad about taking the business online, then signing up on a squeeze page, and then going into a Facebook group, and then getting an email, and then coming onto the webinar. You know, as I say, this was from an actual webinar. So the marketing, the sales, and the delivery in the online course space looks pretty much like that. And there's a lot of pieces involved to get that right. As I say, there's lots of bits and pieces that have to be learned, and it's quite a journey to learn it, but that is the journey that is well worth going on. Like I said, don't be like me. I showed you literally for 15 years of my career where I believed that sales and marketing was something I couldn't learn. I was forfeiting like 2/3 of my potential revenue by me just charging a day rate and leaving somebody else to be in charge of sales and marketing. And now, where I'm in charge of my own sales and marketing, I'm getting 100% of the revenue from whatever it is that I generate and sell. And that is something that you can do for yourself too, if you switch your mindset to the idea that if I can learn sales and marketing after 15 years of refusing, and allow myself to have the location independence and the time freedom, and the same plus more revenue as I was earning before, then you can absolutely do that too. That's all for today. I'll see you again in my next video. Ciao.